So first thing first, what's going on in this data set? Alex said that it's rather large. It's a nice size data set. We have 1 million web pages, 1 million news articles from 300 different media outlets, almost 30 million tweets from 2 million users, comprising 70 million interactions. And we have also some data from Telegram, 7 million posts from 8,000 different channels. Later, I will describe how this dataset was automatically annotated. It has been automatically annotated. We have performed name entity recognition, and we perform also some basic entity linking. The idea is to provide a rather fine-grained information for anyone to use in the future. So, what was the goal of having a web scraped data set in ActEU? The idea was to basically to capture political and cultural discourse from diverse online sources. That's why we have traditional websites, we have news media outlets, we have Twitter, and I later explain why we have Telegram. Regarding whose discourse, there was some discussing when starting with this scraping project. But in the end, we decided collectively in the consortium that we were going to pay attention to key actors, that is governments, public administration, political parties, NGOs, the press, and the public reaction to those actors. Instead of, for instance, trying to create a dictionary of keywords and looking for tweets or things discussing those keywords. And the purpose was to create something that would allow social scientists and political scientists to examine polarizing discourse and the impact that discourse may have or may not on the attitudes of the public and trust and participation. And as you may have heard plenty of times today, we were focused on three issues that unfortunately are rather polarizing for our societies, that are climate, gender, and migration. So, to collect all of this data, we decided to focus on all of the countries that are members of the consortium, except for Belgium. So they are Austria, Czechia, Denmark, Finland, France, Germany, Greece, Italy, Poland, and Spain. It's a quite nice and diverse sample of European countries. We started on late June 2023, and we extended the collection until May 2024. And those key actors were created by the different partners in the consortium. A short list. If anyone has some curiosity, we can discuss that later. A short list. The name. The list was not short. Was provided to the different partners, so they selected the politicians, the parties, the trade unions, the organization, the newspapers, and so on. So it was created. And something that was very, very difficult was to pinpoint what a fringe actor is, especially when you have fringe actors that end in the European Parliament with members of the parliament. So what's fringe and not fringe is difficult. So that's why in the end we decided to capture data from Telegram, because if someone is weird, it's going to be in Telegram probably. Well, there are normal people there too, right? Now, in addition to that, official websites and official social media accounts were uh, uh, captured from the rated list, and all of this data was captured in a continuous way, except for websites. For websites, what we have some are basically snapshots. Okay, we don't have a continuous capture of the websites. Regarding Twitter, I will never call that X. Okay, if he is able to, if he's unable to call his daughter by her name, I'm not going to call Twitter X. So Twitter is Twitter. And the academic research API was shut down in September 2023. Actually, it was shut down in the 21st of September 2023, San Mateo, St. Matthew. We were on holidays on Oviedo. And we relied on traditional web scraping. Traditional web scraping means doing things that Elon Musk don't want you to do. And that worked until February 2024. So Twitter is a very, very sad story. Now, of course, because we are European researchers and we can rely on the Digital Service Act, that is very, very useful, pun intended. We requested for access to Twitter and Facebook, and after a ping pong game with them, we were denied the access. So yes, the DSA is very useful. So after collecting the data, we started working with other teams in the consortium, Plus, Trento, and USAR, to develop the annotation guidelines. It was a very thorough work. And after the annotation guidelines were developed, we relied on a subcontractor to get different individuals from the different countries to annotate a small sample of the data. That is a very, very tedious task, and I can answer that because the Spanish part was performed by my team and myself, and you don't want to work on that. So after getting the small sample annotated manually, we train machine learning models, so we can basically determine in an automatic fashion if a text is related to climate, gender, or migration, and is the text is which is the essence, the tone, the political trust, populism, and other issues. Needless to say, and if someone from computer science says, especially if that person is using artificial intelligence, don't trust that person. Okay, this is imperfect. Okay, there is noise. So we applied those models to the full data set, and that a small annotated sample is going to be released with the dataset. So in the future, other people can train more advanced models that those that were used by ourselves. So going to some graphs. I'm sorry, it's very small. Here you have a radial graph showing the attention that was paid to the different topics in the different sources. So as you may see, news and websites are paying more attention to climate, which makes sense, than to migration and gender. Twitter, quite interestingly, is quite similar, the attention paid to both, to the three topics, and Telegram is much more worried with climate and migration than in gender. Now, paying attention to languages, not countries. Okay, we can separate by countries, but I didn't have the time for these slides. On average, the the public, Telegram, the websites, the media, etc., are more worried about climate than about migration, and the less the topic that they are paying the less attention is gender, but that changes according to countries. So, for instance, German speakers, and here I'm not talking just about Twitter, I'm talking about everything, media, Telegram, and official websites are much, much more worried about climate. They are the country that is paying more attention to climate issues. The Spanish public sphere is much worried about gender, which somehow correlates with other signals that were provided in panels before. And in Poland, it's the country that is paying more attention to the migration issues. Since all of this was captured a long time, except for websites, we can draw this nice time series, and we can pay attention to some peaks and try to discern the reason for those peaks. So, for instance, you have there the International Women's Day, the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women, COP29, and uh, other events. But this is from the news, which is probably the most coherent source that we have here. Regarding Twitter, this is the sad story. Okay, this is Elon Musk uh, uh, messing with me and my holidays, and this was February the 14th. So somebody hates me. So this is a very sad story, but we don't need to really we need to worry about that, but we are scientists and we try to do the best with what we have. So we can try to normalize that. And even though there is very little data in this part, there is still some signal on Twitter data, and there is some signal on Telegram. So the idea here is that, yes, the data is incomplete, the machine models are imperfect, but this is not random bubble. And to better understand what web scraping is and what web scraping can provide you to social scientists and political scientists, you can think of it as trial pitting. Uh, you don't have the time, nor the money, to simply dig everything in a field. And maybe the landowner is not going to allow you to dig. So you get some bits and you extract data that is literally dirty, messy, fragmented, and incomplete. But if you do that in some conscious and hopefully um, proper way, you can still try to paint a picture of what you are getting, right? These are tasks and deliverables that, as I said, they are obliged by contract to work with this data. And in conclusion, yes, the data has plenty of limitations like any other web scraped data set, but at this moment, it's probably the most comprehensive resource available, covering three key and polarizing issues with fine-grained annotations, 10 countries, 9 languages, 1 year of data, institutional and non-institutional actors, and a diverse range of mainstream and non-mainstream content. So given the scope, given the complexity of the effort that was tackled in this ActEU consortium, it's unlikely that you are going to find anything better in the near future, especially if you take into account the policies that the different platforms are adopting to restrict access for research. So I think that it's going to be a valuable asset for ActEU and other researchers in the future. And thank you.